What's up, guys, and welcome back, or welcome back to me. I took a long break. I apologize for that, a break of a couple of months, and just started playing again a week ago. And before I made any new videos, I wanted to get my basic skills back so I'm not totally incompetent and get a feel for the game. Matchmaking has changed a lot. I hate the new system. It's confusing. The matches suck half the time. And the Infinite Pack has changed a lot. I have the Infinite Pack as well. But this is a video about the new weapon pack, the Rainbow Six weapon pack, which I got. And I'm going to tell you in detail what I think about the weapons. I spent the entire day yesterday testing them all out rather extensively. And some are really fantastic and others are just utter shit. So let's start with Assault. The new weapon released for Assault is the AR-21HC R6. C-class weapons in this game, as many of you know, are close quarters weapons. It has a grip, a short barrel. The stats on paper look good: 43 damage per bullet, 880 fire rate, 36 control. It's okay. Seems okay in the fire range. You know what you might expect in a out-of-cover gripped weapon, used for CQC. It's okay even at 60 meters. Now, the problem with this weapon is not that it's a bad weapon per se. It's just compared to the previous 3 releases for Assault, it's a bad weapon. It's better than a Tier 5 weapon or some of the special editions of those, but we're going to compare this weapon to a weapon that, at least for Assault, that at least in theory has a completely different function. And what do I mean by that? I mean comparing the AR-21HC R6 to the ASVAL Watchdogs. Now, the thing about the ASVAL Watchdogs is it is a long-range weapon by dint of the fact that it has a long barrel, it has no grip, it has a bipod, and a slightly better fire rate, meaning slightly better DPS than the AR-21HC. And out of cover, it still has the same, if not better, control than the AR-21HC. And the weird thing about it is it shouldn't, because it doesn't have a grip, it has a bipod. It has slightly better fire rate, meaning slightly better DPS, meaning you can use it at virtually any range. It's still the laser gun it always was, right? Without any of the disadvantages of using the AR-21H, which loses, as it has a grip, loses stability in cover. So the fundamental problem here is, if you want to call it a problem, is that Ubisoft released a gun that is just inferior to the others. Now, this is the most direct comparison, but I'll be talking about weapons in a more weapon choices in a more general sense in a separate video. But I like the AK-12H a lot. SP, obviously AN-94 is quite good. All 3 of these weapons, in their own right, in their own way, are much better than this. This is a good weapon if you don't compare it to any of the new releases, but it's not very good because it has less control, less DPS, less range than the ASVAL SV. You could use the ASVAL SV Watchdogs for the exact same purpose and get better results. What's the point of using the AR-21HC R6 unless you just like the look or the feel or like having a grip? I don't know. I wouldn't waste my money on this. Forget about it. Now, briefly, before I proceed to the shotgun, I want to say that it's quite possible that Ubisoft has some intention behind that. That is to say that the previous 3 releases for Assault were really good. They each fill their role really well. I like all 3 of these weapons, although at the moment I'm favoring the AK-12H SP ACR the most. It's really nice. It's a fantastic all-around assault rifle. But they're all really good weapons, so it kind of makes sense that they would release a kind of dumbed-down, not-so-good weapon for Assault, because the other weapons for the other classes this time around are pretty good. As far as the shotgun's concerned, let me find it. It is unsurprisingly, a new SPAS, right? Just slap an H on it, whatever. And it's a short barrel, so still has decent fire rate, decent I say, but a massive amount of damage, 245. Now, if this is a short barrel, you can only imagine what the long barrel might be in terms of damage. We might be looking at a very slow fire rate of maybe 90 or 100, but possibly 270 damage. Nothing will survive it. But in practice, ladies and gentlemen, my experience is that it's better to have a higher fire rate because of damage mitigation and armor. It's unlikely that you're going to KO things. Sometimes you might hit an opponent in the knee or in the side of the chest, and not every pellet hits with a shotgun. So having this slow fire rate is a disadvantage. That said, I used it for a match or two. It's not bad. When it hits, it does hit. It's pretty deadly. One advantage, of course, of this being semi-automatic as opposed to fully automatic, and I'll talk about the M3A1 ACR at a later date, is you can, if you need to reload, let's say you have 2 shots left, you see an enemy coming up to you, you're in the reload process, but you can interrupt it, and this is very, very useful. The same is true of the Mark 1. You can interrupt the reload process. You can't do that with a fully automatic. Would I recommend this shotgun above the last 2 releases? That is the Mark 1, which is still a fantastic one, and the more newly released M3A1 ACR, HACR? No. If those 2 weapons are kind of comparable, they're very indifferent at the same time, but it would be a contest between those 2. This just doesn't have the fire rate really to compete with the other 2. And slapping on, 10, 15, or even 20 more damage isn't going to make up for it. Because at the end of the day in CQC, fire rate's really important no matter what the weapon is, and that includes shotguns. The chances are you might miss an opponent. You miss an opponent with a 120 fire rate, and you might not hit him again. On the other hand, a weapon such as this, the M3A1H SPACR, and I'll talk about that at a later date in greater depth, is totally spammable. Super fast fire rate, super good damage, and has better accuracy. This is 3 points more accuracy at a 16 accuracy as opposed to 13 accuracy for the new SPAS variant, and it has not nearly as much damage, 191, but a 230 fire rate. This thing will destroy a lot more quickly, and it's spammable, meaning you miss that shot around the corner, there are 9, 8, 7, and so on more shots coming along the way. More on that at a later date when I talk about more general weapon choices, because there's so many choices available now. So for the assault, I would recommend, personally, if you actually spending money on neither, don't bother with any of the new assault weapons. Not worth it. I bought them, so you don't have to. Recon. Recon, on the other hand, had some very nice surprises. I think if you consider both the SMG for Recon as well as the sniper rifle, it has the best overall offer on hand of any of the weapons in the Rainbow 6 weapon pack. Let's first talk about this MP9HC. It's really, really nice. It might be my favorite or second favorite SMG after using it for a lot of matches yesterday. Well, for one thing, it has 40 rounds, which I think is a good balance between, say, the 50 rounds of a CPW and the 30 of a Vector. 30 of a Vector isn't enough. And the problem with the Vector is if you have lag spikes or lag issues or just general bad ping, you're going to be missing shots sometimes, firing X's, and those X's are going to translate into you dying because you only 15 of your shots actually went off from your Vector. It doesn't matter whether it's the Halloween edition or otherwise. I wouldn't personally recommend the Vector after all this time. Some people like it. I don't. I feel it has too many weaknesses. Now, so the nearest competitor might be the CPW. CPW is still very reliable, still very good. It's got 50 rounds in a clip, which means, yeah, it's pretty good in that sense. It's better than most SMGs. The only ones that beat it in terms of ammunition are the CPJ and the M960, and more on them at a later date. But it doesn't have quite the armor piercing of the later tiers. It has 40% as opposed to 50%, which can make a difference. And why I say this is the most balanced and probably best overall SMG to date is because of the many advantages it has. As I said, 40 shots opposed to 30. Those 10 extra shots can help. A very good fire rate at 890. 890 fire rate, 43 damage. That means some pretty good DPS. If I remember my calculations from the other day, that's 637.8 DPS. That is really, really good. Not quite up there with the Vector, which I believe breaks 660, but like I said, the advantages over the Vector, 10 more rounds per clip. And this, ladies and gentlemen, has the 5% bonus to crit chance, which means it's one of those SMGs that when you max it out, is going to have a 22%, but a 27%. That's really useful. A lot of people out there don't invest in anti-crit. I've always invested in it, but recently even more. All my tactical suits, ballistic, ultralight, and I only use ultralight or ballistic, they have either 15 to 18% anti-crit, and really me getting critted, that happens maybe once every 20 matches now. It's really important. Other people don't do that, and the fact is, if you're hip firing, you're still going to have a 6% chance. That is really advantageous, and certainly at range, I got a lot of, even there was that crit shot. At range, you're going to get a lot of crit hits as well. I got tons of them the other day. So you have really good DPS, almost as much as the Vector, not quite, maybe 25, 30, 25 shy. But it compensates for more ammo, higher crit chance, and pretty much the same stability at any range. Semi-automatic, I just stick with auto. But it's still quite good at 60 meters, as you can see. Or that's actually more. No, that was about 60 at this range. And yeah, just a fantastic. It shreds enemies pretty well too. Fantastic SMG, in my opinion, possibly the best one to date. And yeah, I would highly recommend getting this. This is an awesome SMG, very, very good. It doesn't obviously have the ammo capacity of, say, the new M960, which I would recommend too, and I'll talk about that in a separate video when I talk about all the new weapon releases and, in my opinion, what's the best to use. But yeah, I really like this thing a lot. Only at the moment, only SMG I might use instead would be the AKS, but that would only be for, you know, iconic reasons, right? Because every AK is kind of iconic. It does have that massive headshot, double damage, headshot damage, which is nice. But I mean, all AK weapons, no matter what the series is, whether it's legendary or not, they all have pretty terrible spread. So, you know, what you can do at 60 meters with the MP6 HC R6 is, it's kind of possible, but you can just see it's all over the map. This weapon, you never really want to be firing at that range out of burst, and even so, you might want to just stick to single shot. Even single shot is just dreadfully inaccurate. So, but overall, at the moment, my favorite SMG since yesterday is definitely this MP9 HC R6. MP9 HC R6, excellent SMG. Highly recommend getting it. Now, I've said many times before, I'm not much of a sniper, but sometimes I do snipe. It's the only weapon proficiency I don't have pretty much maxed out, because I just don't snipe very often, and I'm not that good at it. Maybe one day I'll improve, maybe I won't. However, I definitely would recommend this semi-automatic sniper rifle, the SR25 HSP R6. Why? First off, it has a short barrel, which means fast ready time, high damage per bullet for an SP. Which is quite good, 95. If you're really into having long barrels, it's going to do even more damage. Fire rate's quite good. My opinion of sniper rifles, and it's just my opinion, is that you don't need something like the M14 ACR. I mean, you don't need a 270 fire rate, because when you're firing at 270, a lot of the bullets are just going to be kind of going everywhere anyway, even if you're firing maximum here. So this kind of offers, in my opinion, of all the auto snipers, the best balance. Now, I do prefer to have a grip on my sniper rifles. And, you know, when the Mod Master comes out, I do have an infinite pack. I'll probably put a grip on it. Maybe I'll even use them. Sorry, this is a short barrel. Yep, I was confusing it with the M14. So, fast settle time, good damage, headshots will KO at any range pretty much as long as you have Magnum in. Let's try it at 100. Still good. Let's try it at 130. Still good. Let's try it finally at 200. And no, that wasn't even a headshot. Okay, this is not meant to be fired at 200. This is 188. Most assaults, unless they have 190 health, are going to fucking go down from that too. So this is a very good sniper rifle. It has a very good fire rate. It does the job, I think, up to 100 meters. And if you need to spam it, you can spam it for suppression fire. And yeah, I mean, body shots obviously won't be as deadly, but, who cares when you can fire two so quickly? Probably the best auto sniper to date, in my opinion. So, of the weapons so far, the complete Recon pack, highly recommend you buying it. Highly recommend you getting it. Good weapon, definitely worth getting. Let's go to support. And, obviously I already talked about the shotgun. What's to say about the shotgun that I didn't say already? The same thing. The new SPAS 812 HCR6, same thing. Yeah, it packs a punch, but honestly, the damage it does isn't made up for by the lack of fire rate. You want to stick with the higher fire rate even if you do get less damage. Mark 1, by way of comparison, I think is a much better compromise. Slightly less damage, much better fire rate. Way to go, I think, if you're into these kinds of shotguns, the semi-automatic. However, drum rolls, by far, in my opinion, the best weapon of any of the Rainbow Six weapons released is the MG36H SPR6, and I'm going to argue here that it's potentially the best LMG in the game released to date. There are a couple of reasons why. You look at it, okay, it's recycled, yeah, the skins, the models, that pisses me off. I wish that Ubisoft would release uniques. If they're going to be releasing continually Tier 9 weapons to give balance, to give variety, to give opportunity to use different weapons and try them out depending on your mood or your play style, that's great. I'm all behind that. I also wouldn't mind Tier 10. Doesn't really matter to me. But stop with the reskins and the reprocessed, recycled models, whatever. But looking at the stats, anyone who is a kind of a bit of a stats fanatic like myself, yeah, stats aren't everything, but they give you very good guidelines. Before I even picked this thing up, I was looking at the stats. I looked at a 57 fire rate. That is way into the upper echelons of damage for most guns, and certainly in the upper echelons of LMGs. The only thing that beat it, the only things that beat it are the M240L, which is a lot worse in other regards, in some regards slightly better in some, damage and DPS, we'll talk about in a bit. The PKM, which has always been a piece of trash, it's a shit, even the new PKM, talk about that another time. And the M96, yeah, it has slightly better, 1 point more damage, but this thing is monstrous. It is fantastic. Why else? Well, it has 57 damage and 750 fire rate. And more importantly, look at the accuracy. 82, that's better than the M240L, Halloween specifically, and a 67 control, which is quite high. You combine all of that, and you're going to get the most balanced, all-around, most powerful DPS LMG in the game. Why do I say this? Well, because this gun has 712.5, I believe, 712 plus DPS. That is the second highest DPS in the game after the Halloween edition M40L. And the difference being that this is eminently controllable. It has really good control compared to the M240L at most ranges. And the problem, the M240 really becomes problematic at longer ranges. You're not going to have a problem with this gun. So what you're missing out on is about 30, about 30 plus in terms of DPS, 30 plus DPS. But instead, you're going to get a lot more control, better accuracy, and really almost as much DPS. I mean, because of that, it is still a DPS monster. This thing, especially with Magnum, just shreds enemies. I was shredding through enemies on Tomsk the other day, and it is all-purpose. The beauty of this is you can use it on Metro maps, you can use it on Tomsk maps. It really works on every map possible because it's a medium barrel, It has very good control. It's pretty accurate. I mean, maybe you don't want to be using it at 100 meters. I mean, you probably could get some shots off at 100. To be honest, I haven't tested it. Yeah, you can get some shots off. Okay. By feather tapping it. Why you would do that at that range, I mean, it's not meant to be, but certainly up to 60, even 80, 70 meters, you're going to get some really good results with this thing. I mean, it just shreds through enemies. And that's true in CQC as well. It'll just shred through enemies. And it is just fantastic. Really good control, pretty good, decent accuracy, amazing DPS. That combination, in my humble opinion, makes it the best light machine gun in the game, hands down. The special edition MG36H SPR6 can't beat it. Now, yeah, it's true that the M240L SP Halloween edition, it's got more DPS. It's got 744 DPS versus 712 plus. But anyone who's tried to use it knows that it is not terribly controllable. I mean, even at 30 meters, it's a struggle. You can do it, but it's a struggle. At longer ranges, its spread is terrible. It doesn't have the same control. I mean, certainly you don't really want to use this beyond 60 meters. You can feather tap it, but yeah, it shreds enemies even more. It's just you have to hit the enemies, and sometimes, unless you're Mick H or some other people, it's more important that you have a gun that actually hits everything you're firing at. And let's talk briefly about control versus accuracy. It's true, accuracy is a different stat that talks about spread and and where the bullets land exactly. But you could have a gun with a 95 accuracy and a 22 control. It doesn't matter how accurate it is at longer ranges because it's not going to hit. So in some way, control is accuracy, or at least it feeds into accuracy. And that's why this gun, ladies and gentlemen, in my humble opinion, is the best gun released to date for the support. 712 plus DPS, very good damage per bullet as well for those high damage criticals, excellent control, decent accuracy, and there's not much else to say about it. This is a great weapon. I can't think of any other word to describe it other than it's a great weapon. Definitely get it. Don't bother with a shotgun for the support, but if you're a big support player, a specialist player, then definitely get the LMG. Very worth it. It just shreds everything, and most importantly, it has the control and the accuracy to allow you to shred enemies at any range, along with the fire rate for short range, but also to shred enemies at 60 or 70 meters. This thing is great. So those are my recommendations. Those are my opinions on the weapon pack, on the newly released weapon pack. I'll just repeat myself one last time in case you missed what I said in detail previously. The assault pack, forget about. Compared to the last three previously released weapons, the AR is fucking garbage. The assault rifle is garbage. Don't bother with it unless you're nostalgic and just like the AR-21 for some reason. Don't waste a penny on it. Don't waste your money. The shotgun isn't worth it. There are two other shotguns that are a lot better. Recon, get the entire pack. The SMG is fantastic. It's really neat. Very nice little weapon. The sniper rifle is the best semi-automatic sniper rifle released to date, I think. It combines high damage, no thank you, high damage, relatively speaking, good fire rate, fast settle time, very, very nice. Pity it doesn't have a grip, but whatever. As far as support's concerned, don't bother, once again, don't bother with a shotgun. You have two other choices a lot better, Mark 1 M3, M3A ACR, so much better choices there. But this LMG is the best one released for support to date. I think it's the most balanced in terms it offers the most advantages. You can shred enemies at CQC at 5 meters. You can shred enemies at 60 meters. This is the gun to go with if you want a high DPS, high damage, accurate and stable LMG. Nothing beats it. And in fact, let me go on record. I have the AK200M. I love that thing. The headshots are nice. It's iconic. It's got a crazy nice sound. But honestly, in playing support in the future, I think probably 75, 80, maybe 90% of the time, I'll be using the MG36 because overall, it's a better gun than the AK200M is. So those are my thoughts. I hope that's been informative. I hope it'll help you make a decision whether or not you want to actually buy the new Rainbow Pack or not. These, of course, just my opinions. calculated in for my play style, the way I play, but still, it could be a handy guideline for you. It could be a handy idea. Everyone's inviting me. A handy way of just looking at the different weapons. Once again, assault, don't bother. Get everything for recon and get the LMG for support. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thanks for watching, and I hope it's been helpful and informative. And I'll see you for the next GRP video. Everyone take care. Bye-bye.